You can feel it. So much of today's music sounds polished but hollow. Somewhere along the way, the soul got lost. But what happens when an artist refuses to fake it? When she builds her life and career on what's real?
Anytime you start to turn art into being your job, it changes the relationship that you have with it. You can get drained really quickly and it can wear you down really quickly. And then you have something really great happen and it kind of like keeps you in it, kind of like those dysfunctional relationships, right?
You say that the only dysfunctional relationship you'll allow anymore is with the music industry.
There's this fear that songwriters and artists have that if there's no chaos or controversy in your life, you're not going to be able to write good songs or you're not going to know what to write about. And Rancho Deluxe really was proof to me that that's just not true. There's so many things that you can write about. There's so much richness in life.
In this conversation, Nikki Bluhm opens up about the tension between art and industry, how chasing success nearly drained her and how returning to authenticity brought the joy back. Her story reminds us that real art isn't about perfection, it's about truth, healing, and heart.
It's just become this really special, sacred place where people feel comfortable coming. It's accessible, it's comfortable, and then you're really capturing a moment. You're not capturing perfection, you're capturing this moment in time.
If you've ever wondered whether heart still wins in modern music, this one's for you.
You know, there's so many things that you can write about. There's so much richness in life, whether it's, looking at putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and writing from a different perspective, or writing about gratitude or complacency, reflections. Like, it's just, I have found it to be actually more fun in a lot of ways to write from a place of like not being in pain and not being in a swirl of chaos. Anytime you start to turn art into like it being your job or commodifying it changes the relationship that you have with it. And, I think it's important for me to always get back to, why am I doing this? Where's the authenticity? I want to feel, inspired. Nowadays, especially as a touring musician, you're asked to wear so many hats. You're asked to be the promoter and be the driver and be the loader. And it's just, until you really
Run the social media.
do the social media.
I mean,
yeah. So, it's you can get drained really quickly and it can wear you down really quickly.
As an Americana listening nation, how do we support artists in that environment? It
Buy
might
records.
be a different level.
Yeah, buy directly from the artists, when you can. Buy directly, buy a vinyl, buy tickets to shows, share stories on Instagram, tag them. Like, it's just, all we really need help with is getting eyes on stuff, because it's so saturated and there's so much out there. It's hard to break through. Anybody can put songs up on digital platforms now. And so there's just a lot of noise. It's crowded. And so I think that as fans, highlighting the artists that you like and sharing it is really valuable.
You began an event with the Gramblers doing cover videos, and that literally exploded online. What was that moment like when the van became your stage?
It all happened pretty organically, to be honest. At the time, we were in our really small Chevy cargo van that we actually needed to add a jump seat to, because we didn't even have enough seats for everybody in the van. So it was tight. And we were just touring so much at the time, and we were putting so many miles on it. We had so many hours in between drives, and we started messing around with cover songs and recording them. And I think the Hall & Oates one that went viral was about our 17th one. And I remember we were pulling into Pappy and Harriet's for a show that night, and we uploaded the video like just in time to be able to get it, on YouTube so people could watch it. And then we lost service. So we were in Pioneer Town for like the next couple days. We had no idea that it had made a splash at all. And we came back into service and everybody's phone was just exploding. That John Oates had retweeted and Bette Midler had retweeted and Cameron Crowe had retweeted. And we were like, what is going on here? All those videos were on an iPhone. And we would mix the sound by like, oh, the guitar's too loud, you go to the back seat, or we'd flip the microphone to face, the person who we wanted to be the predominant singer. So we got creative, and, it was fun, and it was just a moment in time.
You like the founding mother of like a viral video, because nowadays they're everywhere.
And I'm like, it wouldn't even be considered viral anymore these days. Viral now is like 40 million.
No.
Although, like, the city of Atlanta's got, what, 5 million people or so? So you're at 4.2 on that one video. So that's like everyone watching almost the city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And
that's pretty cool.
I think that, I love the realness and the rawness behind it. And it's just so cool to watch it. So everyone, that's one more thing about Nicki you got to go check out.
Let me ask this. When you decided to, very well informed that the breakup with the Gramblers, your ex-husband is in that band, and you go solo, what does that teach you as an artist, going from kind of the band to your solo projects that you're in nowadays?
Yeah, none of that was really like overly planned. I just was at such a crazy transitional time in my life. I had been touring with the Gramblers for almost a decade. My marriage was falling apart, and I just really needed like a new start. It wasn't my intention to do anything that demarcated like a hard ending or a hard stop. It was just, for me, I needed to go somewhere new and get some space and change my perspective and work with other people. After that transition, not only did I get a divorce, I moved 2,000 miles across the country. And I had all these songs that were, ready to record. And I just really wanted to go into the studio with people who didn't know me and didn't know my story. It was so emotional, and there was so much baggage that the only baggage I really wanted to bring into the studio were the songs and the lyrics of the songs. I didn't want anybody that like really knew me or the intimate details of my story to be there, because I was so vulnerable. I just needed people to like help me create it and make it come to life. And that was To Rise You Gotta Fall, that record. I recorded it in 2017. It came out in 2018. And that I did with Matt Rossbang, who became a really dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
He's out of Memphis. And it was just such an amazing experience. I feel really proud of that record and those songs because, I wrote them all on my own or with brand new writers that I met in Nashville. And that was a big step for me because my writing partner was my ex-husband, and my mentor, it was all wrapped up in the same thing. So those songs for me really represented a shift in taking control of like my own identity and like autonomy. And I still really enjoy singing them. There's a lot of them that I don't. The more like ballady kind of sad ones, I kind of let those just live on the record. Playing live shows, I've really come to realize, at least the crowds that come to my shows, I think they want something that's a little bit more high energy. So I tend to let the ballads live on the records.
Got this huge catalog, and some of it's going to be like in the past, and maybe you want to leave it there, but then the fans are like screaming for that ballad. And you're like, oh no, I'm not saying, I don't put words in your mouth, but every once in a while you're like, oh, I just don't want to go there. Or maybe you're trying to think about something else while you do it. Or how do you cope with the rawness when your fans want a song maybe you're not ready to pull out of the archive?
I mean, a lot of that just depends on what you have rehearsed, right, as a band. So you can also just say, no, we haven't rehearsed that. We're not ready to do it.
Rehearsed that, y'all.
So I think that's always an okay thing to do too. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty past that. I think there's this, I think that there's this like fear that songwriters and artists have, that if there's no chaos or controversy in your life, you're not going to be able to write good songs, or you're not going to know what to write about.
Yes.
And Rancho Deluxe really was proof to me that that's just not true.
And I got to give my tip of the hat too to Zach, who sent me Rancho Deluxe. Is like, dude, you need to listen to this now. And as always, he was right.
Well, I got a little insider on it, Ben, that you don't know about.
What was it?
Nikki and I have a common friend, Zach Schmidt.
And
Golden
Zach
Everything wrote helped write one of the songs. Yep. He didn't say I helped write. He said I helped it along.
Which one?
And Zach sent me that. And we become good friends. Golden Everything's been on this podcast.
Amazing.
But yeah, I have that relationship So I knew about Rancho Deluxe before. I know all about Rancho Deluxe.
I
Yeah,
thought
you
you were going to say
do.
Oliver Wood because I've been watching that. You've done some collaborations with Oliver, who's been on the show.
Yep, I love both those
Yeah.
humans. They're so wonderful. Zach co-wrote on "Keep on Growing," and it was
Yes, which is
All right.
such a great song.
Thank
That
you.
there is
And
a
that's
change up
where-
in that song.
There is.
Yes.
It's almost like a shock to the system when you hear it. And I gotta ask, what is the change up? And the lyrics are so simple and so poignant.
Well, I had it kind of written and it just needed some tweaking. And Zach is so good about just like finessing lines and kind of like tying the room together, you know, like I had the chorus and, you know, he was really just helpful in just kind of like creating more of like a theme throughout the song, which, you know, it just gave it a cohesiveness. And then, you know, once we had the song written, of course, you're in the studio and you're like trying to figure out what's the feel, like what's the tempo, what's the feel. And on this record, Richard Millsop played drums, who he's Jesse's brother-in-law, Jesse Wilson, who produced the record. And they've been playing together for years as a rhythm section. They were in the band of Heathens together for almost a decade, and now they play with John Fogerty. So they're just like the super tight rhythm section, which was so great to have in the studio. And so they kind of were like, maybe there's like a time signature change. Like maybe, you know, it kind of starts one way and then we like kick into this groove. And Richard just executed it really well. And it was like, we definitely stumbled around it for a while, trying to find like how to gracefully get into it. And Richard was our Sherpa. He was our time change Sherpa, and he really did a great job. And I think it's one of the cooler parts of the record.
It seems like you're having so much fun. I mean, the whistle in Cumberland Banks.
That's love Richard
it.
again.
It
I know.
Reminds me of that. It reminds me of that Dylan song.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Richard is amazing. He added on all of those fun,
Rainy day,
percussive stuff. Yeah.
Bay Laurel Leaves opens the album in such a unique way. And there's a one little part of it, the way you say California in that song, that reminds me a little bit of a Rufus Wainwright song called California. Do you know the song I'm talking about?
No.
It's just the way it comes across. He's singing about California in a very celebratory kind of way. What a beautiful, beautiful song. What about that one really inspired you to open up the album with that specific song?
We asked Kristen Weber, who's a very well-respected string player. She arranges here in Nashville. She actually won Instrumentalist of the Year at the Americana Awards a couple years ago. And she's also a really dear friend of mine. She's in my book club. I love her. She's amazing. We asked her to play and arrange strings for two of the songs, Taking Chances and Bay Laurel Leaves. And I just loved what she did with them. And when Bay Laurel Leaves came back and just that opening like string section situation, I was like, this is so cool. This has to open a record. Like I loved it. I loved what she did with it so much. And I loved how it just kind of like had this tension and this suspense, and then you're kind of like breaks open, and it feels like opening a book or something where you're like looking at the title and you're like, oh my gosh, what's it gonna be? And then it kicks in and it starts. And I was like, this is the perfect opener.
What's your advice to artists who struggle with that? You know, thinking about how you can make one brand or one kind of music that might sell more, that might reach more of a mainstream level of popularity and help pay the bills versus what your heart and what your soul is calling you to write and create.
I mean, I think it's just so dependent on the individual. And, you know, like you can tell people coming up all kinds of like cautionary tales. I was told many cautionary tales, and you just have to live it yourself. Like you have to live it yourself and make your own mistakes and fail. And it's hard to learn from other people's mistakes. You kind of have to feel it. It has to viscerally resonate in your body. But I think, you know, there's a lot of things that you could do. I mean, I know that there are artists out there who write for other artists, and then they have a whole different side of them that is doing their thing in an authentic way. So I think it's just so unique to each person. And I think there's so many ways to do it. But I think ultimately you just have to do what you're going to do and feel the consequences of it, good or bad, yourself, because you can't learn from other people.
Tell me about Rancho Deluxe, the studio, and how important it is to have these other songwriters in there and people that you love.
Yeah, we moved into this property that we're on now where the studio is in 2021. And over the last few years, we've just really kind of worked hard to chip away to create a space. We're on a nice piece of land. It's just a lovely place to come. It's very relaxing. It's very bucolic. And we converted an outbuilding into what's become Rancho Deluxe. And it took probably about 2 years for us to get it right and up to speed. And Zach and Jackie Zach was one of our very first people to come and record and work with Jesse. But, over the years, it's just become this really special, sacred place where I think people feel comfortable coming. It's sort of like a humble place. It's very it's accessible, it's comfortable, it's cozy. And Jesse's such a skilled engineer. And over the years of him getting to this point of, skill set of being an engineer and a producer, he just can create these really incredible sonic landscapes without tons of fancy gear.
Why is it so important to have that vibe at Rancho Deluxe for artists like you?
I mean, I think when you're recording, it's really important to feel grounded and to feel comfortable and to feel at home. For me, making the record is like the very best part of doing music for a career. It's like, and I've definitely had experiences making records where everything is sterile and everybody kind of like you do tracks one at a time and you build on that and it's all on Pro Tools and everybody's looking at a computer screen and it can get really sterile and daunting. And this space that we've created, it's just, it lends to tracking live. So the band can be in the room together tracking live, which is what we did. And then you're really capturing like a moment. You're not capturing perfection. You're capturing this moment in time where everybody is together collectively, creating together, collaborating. And then you step outside and you're looking at this beautiful big green pasture with trees and you can walk around and go pet a horse or, a cat comes and jumps on your lap. Like it's a very serene, very, very lovely place to weave together nature and music and all the things that we love.
Does geography make a difference in songwriting or the way that we play our music?
I mean, I think that it probably does. Yeah, I think you're influenced by your environment. I'm certainly really influenced by nature and what's around me. And so, I think it's inevitable that you're going to absorb like the environment where you are and it's going to reflect and come through. I've been here for 8 years now, which is kind of crazy that time starts to go so fast and is so exponential. But I remember when I recorded in Tennessee for the first time with Matt, we were kind of like, this is like California, Memphis. This is like Cali, Memphis. And I was like, that's kind of a funny smashing together of words. But I do feel like, Jesse and I are both Californians. So I think that inevitably there's a little bit of that, we both love like all that Southern California, Beach Boys and Linda Ronstadt and the Eagles. And I can only speak for myself. Jesse would have a whole other list. But I think that we've carried that love of that kind of like 70s rock, canyon rock stuff. And now living here for as long as we have, like it's an integration of all of our experiences.
What do you think the Nikki Bluhm legacy will be down the road? Obviously, you got a lot more music to go, but on down the road, what do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea. I would hope to leave a mark of just inspiring people to stay authentic to themselves and not follow trends or, chase anything that's not their path forward, listen to your gut and, have an authenticity that and a North Star, keep your compass dialed to your true north, not anybody else's.
Yeah. And if you don't blow up on TikTok, it doesn't mean somebody or people don't enjoy your music, so it's worth taking the chance.
Well, and it's interesting because a lot of labels now, that's what they're looking at. They're looking at TikTok and they're looking at for you to like blow up and become viral. And as somebody who, did go viral early in 2013, 2012, 2013, you also have to be ready to harness it, and you have to know what to do with it, and you have to know how to parlay it into like the next thing. Otherwise, it's really, it's not like it's a sure thing just because you go viral that now you've made it. And I think it's really sad that labels and industry people are having that be the goal of young artists. Like, well, you got to get on TikTok and you got to go viral. It's like, that's not the way to build a strong foundation, I don't think. So,
Totally agree.
That's a little sad to me. But for a minute, I thought we were going to just lose TikTok. And I was like, oh, well, that'll simplify things.
Yeah. Let's narrow it down
One
a
less
little bit.
platform we have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to go get you viral on LinkedIn. Business growth. I know that is, so I know that is laughable and it does deserve a laugh. However,
he's being dead serious.
I've got 30,000 followers on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't figured out how to move the Americana Nation on there, but I think this music, your music, honestly, would resonate incredibly well over there, more than even with the TikTok audience.
On LinkedIn? But isn't that for like, you submit your like work resume? Isn't that LinkedIn?
That is part of it.
Right.
But there's a big video platform over there. And you know who I don't see on there ever?
Musicians?
Musicians putting their music.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to try this probably with one of your videos.
Love it.
Now, no one else is doing it. I have some other podcasts that are more business focused that we use that for. But I keep thinking, I'm like, why is there... Because there are lots of burned out people on LinkedIn. In fact, if they're looking for a job, they're probably going through one of the hardest times of their life.
That's true. That's a really good point.
It is time. They need to listen to Tumbleweed.
Aw, yeah. Yeah, get grounded. Everything's okay. You just got to keep on keeping on, keep going around those blind
they need
turns.
Encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sit here and say, hey, it's okay, keep going. Or you can listen to Nicki, put it in poetic song.
I love
Trust
that
me,
idea.
they're going to take Nicki all day over that.
I'm on board.
Yeah,
I'm on board.
So anyway, Zach, what's your final question for Nicki? Because we got to go.
I'll just ask what I usually ask at the end of most. What does the term Americana mean to you? Ketch told us he wasn't at all very Americana curious after all, but I'm curious.
Yeah, he's like, I don't believe in Americana.
What is he?
Thank you, Ketch.
What does he believe in? Just more like pure.
Basically, he thinks that it's not enough broad enough term. Basically,
and I'm like, Americana is the most broad term. But
I feel like that's true. I mean, I feel like it's created a space for music that didn't really have a name. When I think of Americana, I think of like American roots music. So country, rock and roll.
That's exactly what he
soul,
said.
It's like, to me, that's what it is. And I feel like my music lives well under that umbrella. Country, rock and roll and country soul. It's like, that's to me what it feels like. And so, I feel like it's been a really cool, just experience to, I live in Nashville and I listen to WMOT constantly. I love that radio station and they're so supportive of local artists. And, the Americana charts right now, Rancho Deluxe is living on the chart, which is so cool. And it's so neat to feel that kind of like notoriety. They really take, I feel like it's an association that is really artist friendly and supportive of roots musicians. and that's really cool. It's a really cool space to live in and to be welcomed into.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you joining us on the show. Everybody stay Americana curious.